Hi there. This video is a brief introduction to the new approach we've just rolled out for our prescribing reports. Um, there are lots and lots of reports in our prescribing module. The ones that we think that are most critical to run are in folders 1, 2, and 3. The ones beyond that are probably useful, but not essential, and it depends a lot for you as a practice, what capacity you've got, what your priorities are, and we will cover some of that. But we'll kind of treat those a bit separately. So for now, I just want to first focus on this prescribing actions folder. Having got feedback from lots of you, we're really conscious that there's a huge amount that our system can flag up to review. Time is very limited, and so we need to be able to prioritize. So we've divided these prescribing actions into high, medium, and routine priority. Now, the high priority ones are, as the name suggests, very high priority. So they are things like CHC on repeat or being issued with a UK MEC4 warning, or on a teratogenic medication and the patient's pregnant and not yet been reviewed. With each of these highest level alerts, there is a new kind of red exclamation mark icon that appears on the demographics. I'll show you briefly that on a test patient. And clicking on that will bring up the relevant information. And what we've tried to do with a lot of this is give you really detailed information to facilitate managing these alerts. So for example, this one, the latest EGFR is 27 and they're on metformin. There's a link to the guidance there specific to metformin, or a link to just the generic BNF prescribing. And then there's options to facilitate what you might do next, like stopping the medication. Perhaps you want to repeat the U&E. And all these options will help you record the outcome and take the patients out of these reports if there's some kind of action that you've taken. These are also high priority in the sense that if your admin staff are using our new proactive prescribing checks protocol, it will flag these up for review before these are issued. So these are well worth trying to keep on top of, both for patient safety and for sort of the flow of patients through your practice. It's probably easier to work straight off the reports, but if, as a practice, perhaps your GPs or pharmacists don't do that very much, then there are options and there are codes that can be added together to take patients out of these reports for 4 weeks. Medium priority, this is more things that are, a lot of it's linked to pathology. So if you're not using the pathology module, for example, you won't have patients in here. A lot of it is where the patient has agreed to some kind of medication start or change, or here's an antiplatelet they've agreed to start on, say, clopidogrel. Some are quite high risk, like, say, CHC and UK MEC3, or POP and UK MEC3. Often those are things like multiple risk factors for cardiovascular risks. They're slightly grayer, they're not as black and white as often the UK MEC4 warnings. So these are things that you probably want to be keeping on top of as well, but they're not as high priority. Some of them will be zeroed off if you're not using those relevant parts of the system. And again, there's ways to bulk remove those. Finally, the routine priority. Again, there's some outcomes like, say, a depression questionnaire that needs review of the answers, but not like a really kind of concerning answer, or medication that should be stopped. Other things that need to be reviewed, like, say, SGLT2 with active diabetic foot complications, or patients who perhaps should be put on antiplatelets. These also factor in whether a patient's got a med review booked. So if they have, they won't be in these reports. And again, there are other changes we've made to the system to try and integrate this better. We will be sending out shortly, or if you've got this video, you've probably got the planner with it, and you can decide a bit who you want managing different alerts and so on, and what kind of priority you give to them and who should be working on them. But we hope this is a more helpful layout than just a sort of mass of things that it's hard to know how to prioritize. Thanks.